How can you get a maximum of productivity and work-life balance by applying weekly blueprints? Hi everyone, my name is Johannes. I'm a strategy consultant, and on this channel I share my thoughts, learnings and experiences about consulting, business and mindset. If you're new to this channel, then please subscribe to it and leave a thumb. This would really help to grow the channel. And today we talk about productivity hacks, we talk about weekly blueprints, why you should use them, what they are and how they can help you to get the maximum of productivity and work-life balance. So let's start with talking about what weekly blueprints are and why they are so important. So what are they at the end? Weekly blueprints are like pre-scheduled frameworks that you apply to your week. So this means that you schedule certain events in your week and that you try to stick to that schedule every single week. And of course, in reality, it's not like that you stick to it all the time. It's more like 80% or even 70%, it doesn't matter. But it helps you to schedule certain events in advance, and this makes your week much more productive, and it also helps you to have a much better work-life balance. So what are the reasons to work with weekly blueprints? So first of all, it gives you an orientation. So especially in management consulting, your week can be very chaotic because you have many meetings, you have many traveling activities, you're usually very busy. So applying weekly blueprints and scheduling certain events and activities in advance really helps you to give you a good orientation. Also, it helps you to create certain habits. So especially if you work on a morning routine or on a health routine, it really helps you that you create habits over the time, because you apply those weekly blueprints almost every week, and this helps you to get into a certain routine. Also, it makes your planning much easier because if you have a certain schedule for the week, you don't have to rethink your entire weekly schedule over and over again. It's rather that you always know, okay, at that time you go for sports, at that time you meet with your friends. This really helps you to make your planning easier and more efficient. Also, it helps you to increase your work ethic. So this means that you don't have to think all the time about when do I start working, how long do I work, because working with weekly blueprints really says, okay, those are my working slots. So obviously it helps you to improve your work ethic, but at the same time it helps you, this is the last point here, to keep your work-life balance, because you do not only decide when do I work, you also decide where do I not work. And in my opinion, my experience, this really helps a lot to have a very productive week and also to have a very healthy work-life balance. And what I want to do today in this video is that I walk you through the single steps that I do in order to develop my weekly blueprint. And I also will give you an example what my current weekly blueprint looks like. I have to say this changes over time. It typically changes, for example, if I change project, because different projects you have different settings, but this works for me now, and I want to guide you through my routine, and maybe this brings value to you. So what is the first step if we talk about weekly blueprints and if we want to develop a weekly blueprint? The first step is that we talk about sleep, and typically you start by planning your sleep. So some thoughts that I have about sleep is, it's highly individual how much sleep you need, okay? There are some people who say, okay, I only sleep like 6 hours as a consultant. There are people who say I need 8 hours. My opinion is always, it really doesn't matter unless or until you feel very productive, and this is the most important thing. So don't make the mistake and sleep only like 5 hours if you need 7, because this will, kind of cause a very high productivity decrease. So really be honest about how much sleep you need, and just schedule how much sleep you need and how you like it. What I do personally is that I now try to get up every day at 6 a.m. and use the morning hours to do my morning routine and to work on this channel. And I go to bed when I feel like it. Typically this is around 11, and I also stick to that routine over the weekend. So what I did back then was that I had less sleep during the week and then compensated for that on the weekend. And this caused me, to sleep on Saturday until 10, for example. But what I realized was that, if I get up every single day at the same time, this really helps my biorhythm to adjust to that time. And also on the weekend, I like the early hours in the morning, to do some sports, maybe to read a book. And if I'm tired on the weekend, maybe I do a longer nap on the afternoon. So this is what works for me at the moment. And if you want to read more about sleep and sleep cycles, I really can recommend the 4 Hours Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Great book that talks about sleep. And also Steve Pavlina is someone who talks about sleep and writes about sleep. So those are great resources. So how does this look in a weekly blueprint? So if I take a look at my sleep schedule, it's very simple. As I just told you, every day I try to get up at 6 a.m. and this works for me. Like in the past 3 weeks, I had only 2 days where I slept longer. So this is what I do at the moment, and I usually try to get to bed around 11. So this gives me 6 to 7 hours of sleep every single day. And for me at the moment, this works pretty well. Again, I really want to highlight, find your own sleep schedule. Don't think that you need less sleep or more sleep just because you read it somewhere. It's a very individual thing and you really have to figure that out yourself. Then the next step, if you want to develop a weekly blueprint, is that you plan your routines and organization activities. And here's very important, and what I realized was that especially those routines, those morning routines, those evening routines, they really help you to, have a great start into the day, to have a great ending of the day. And for me, in terms of work-life balance, in terms of mindset, in terms of well-being, those are probably the most important tools that I currently use. What I do is that I have a morning routine. It at the moment is like 60 minutes long, so 1 hour. So I get up, I put on my sports clothes, I drink something. Hydration is very important. Make a coffee. Then I typically sit down, do some meditation, do some reading, also do some reflection. What I will start next week is that I also include a workout in the morning. Then I shower, style, dress up, and then I go out. So this typically takes 60 minutes, and this really helps me to get into a positive state of mind. Also the reading, also the sport. My shower that I take is cold at the moment. So this really helps me, to get awake, especially if I had a shorter night and if I got a little less sleep. And this is typically my mindset booster and is really getting me up it's getting me fired up very quickly and ensures that I have a great start every single day. What I also like to do is having an evening routine. So this is usually also 60 minutes. So it helps me, to do some organization, to do my emails, do my planning of the next week. Also, I like to journal if I have the time and do some meditation. This really helps me, to get the system down and helps me to sleep. And then typically, I just try to prepare the next day, pack my stuff and, get ready for bed. And in the bed, I typically read until I'm so tired that I fell asleep. This is typically what I do. Those are my morning routines, evening routines that I do almost every single day. So it's scheduled for every day, but I would say if I do it 5 times out of 7, it would be a good week. And I also have a weekend routine, and I found that to be very important because this helps you not only to have a productive day, but also to kind of reflect on the week. So what I do there typically is that I have some weekly reflections. So I ask myself, okay, did I achieve my goals? What went good? What can I do better? And what can I learn? Those are typically the questions that I answer for myself. To do that, I usually go after my workout on the weekend to the spa. And, if I went to the sauna, I'm typically very relaxed, and this helps me, to reflect on this week. And I really like that. And of course, I do also a weekly planning. So this means that I set new goals for the week, that I plan my to-dos and also plan my calendar. This is typically my weekend routine, and this takes about 2 hours. If we take a look at the schedule, then it looks the following. So it's typically the morning routine in the morning between 6 and 7 a.m. Then the evening routine between 10 and 11 a.m. And then my weekend routine, I usually do it Friday evening after my workout. And this is how it's scheduled at the moment in my personal weekly blueprint. The next step that we need to talk about if we develop a weekly blueprint is to talk about your work activities. And this is typically where you schedule your time to work. And again, this is only a guideline. But what I realize is that if you define for yourself what your working hours are, this really helps you to plan your activities to keep a healthy work-life balance in consulting. What I would also do is that you align those working hours with your teammates. So if you don't have a guideline on your team what the core working hours are, then maybe you open up this discussion to talk about, okay, what could we typically expect? Is it okay if I, stop working at 8? Is it okay if I start working at 10? So it doesn't matter. You have to discuss that with your team, but it really helps me to kind of, have the security that, for example, on Thursday after 8 p.m., I know that my team doesn't expect me to work anymore. Also on Friday after 6 a.m. And this really helps me, for example, to schedule some free time activities there. Of course, we are in consulting, so this means it's a project-based business. Obviously, those are only core working hours. It might mean that, during typical or, more intensive working project phases, you might work a little bit more, but also that, during relaxed working hours, project phases, that you might work a little bit less. So it highly depends. Again, this is only an average and should only help you to kind of get an idea how you can structure your week. So how does this work look for me? So typically I work between 8 to 10. Those are the core working hours, I would say. I am now at a project manager level, so this means that I probably have to work a little bit more. And this is why I typically plan, to work from 8 to 10, from Monday to Wednesday, then on Thursday only until 8, and on Friday only until 6. This is what I plan to work for my consulting job. And this is what I expect to work on a normal week. Besides that, I have to say that I obviously work on this channel. So this is a time that I personally also have to plan. Of course, if you don't run a channel or don't have a side business, then you do not need to plan for that. I typically try to work every morning between 7 and 8 on some content. And then, typically on Sunday, I do, the rest of the work, like preparing the videos, like working on the course material, for example. And also I include here the management of my finances. So I also plan some time to review my investments, to think about my investment strategy, to do all the admin work. This is also something that I schedule, and this is typically what I schedule on Sunday. But again, if you don't have that, then probably you have more free time on the weekend or during the week. Good. Then the next step that I recommend is that you plan your sports and health activities. And for me personally, this was really a game changer, especially last year, because I set up a bet with some friends where I made a bet that I achieve a certain fitness goal. So this forced me to really think about strategically how I plan my sports activities. And, looking back to it, it really contributed a lot to my well-being because, being in shape, being, fit and healthy, doing regular sports, taking a look at your nutrition and diet, this really boosts your confidence, and it contributed a lot to my well-being and my job performance. So this is, in my experience, a very important part. So what I do at the moment is that I do 3 workouts during the week. Based on my experience, I never make it to work out if I'm on the project at a client side, because typically, always, something important comes up, so I cannot plan for that. So it helped me to really plan all of my sports activities on the weekend. I also hired a personal coach, a personal trainer, because this really forces me to go to the gym. This really forces me that if I am at the gym, to go all out. So this really helped me doing that. And I also took a lot of care of my diet, of my nutrition. So I'm very picky with that, because I realized that you obviously you gain you gain muscle in the gym, but you lose fat in the kitchen. So this means if you don't actively manage your nutrition and your diet on a project, then it will be really hard to stay in shape, because most people that I see that work for a couple of years in consulting, they slowly but surely gain some weight. And this can, at the beginning it's fine, I would say the first 3 years, because this just has an impact on your look. But if you don't fix that over time, this can really lead to some very serious health issues, and it's certainly not a road that I want to take. So I really try to focus a lot on my diet as well. If I take a look at the blueprint, it looks like that. So I typically have my 3 workouts scheduled. So one Thursday evening, typically I land Thursday evening around 8, I would say. Then I drive immediately to the gym, do my workout there. Then Friday also as well, after finishing work around 6, I also go to the gym, do my workout. And Saturday I do it in the morning. And if I have some time, typically in the afternoon, maybe I do some hiking with my girlfriend. So this is why there is a mixed color, because this is also time that I spend on my relationship. So I try to do that, but it doesn't happen every weekend. Good. Then the next part we need to talk about in terms of weekly blueprints is something that I just mentioned, and those are your relationship activities. And if we talk about relationships, then there are typically 3 categories, or even 4 categories, sorry. So the first one is obviously your relationship with your partner. So if you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a wife, a husband, then you should definitely plan some time with them. And believe me, this was also really a game changer in my relationship. As soon as you start working in consulting, you probably spend less time with each other than you did before, because you are on the project for most of the week. And in order to that your relationship does not suffer, it really helps to schedule some fixed blocks where you really focus on your relationship. So this is something that I really can recommend. What we do is that we have weekly date nights. So those are nights, evenings where we go for dinner, or go to the cinema, or a concert, or whatsoever. But this is a block time, and this is a non-negotiable typically, where the time is really planned and fixed for our relationship. The second category are your friends. So obviously you also should plan time for your friends. So maybe this is on a weekly basis. If this is important for you, maybe it's not on a weekly basis. But obviously you don't want to lose your friends because you're working all the time. So it's very important to also schedule time for that. The third category is your family. Obviously you don't want to lose contact to your parents, maybe to your siblings, maybe other family members. So plan time for that as well. And this is the fourth category. I also plan time for my networking. Okay, networking and friends, it's kind of more or less the same, because I don't take a look at the network only from a professional point of view, but also just people that I want to spend time with. And I also try to plan time for that. With that being said, how does that look in my weekly schedule? And this is like here what we see. The purple color. I usually on Saturday afternoon or evening try to have a barbecue or a dinner with some friends or the family maybe. I really try to like to do it on Saturday evening. And then on Sunday in the evening, this is the date night with my girlfriend, where we really try to spend some time together. And again, this is only a blueprint, so this might change, but typically Saturday evening and Sunday evening should be blocked for the relationship. And then last but not least, and this is also a category that shouldn't be underrated, and it's kind of, it's not a clean cut, because this category is involved in many other activities. I will talk about that in a second, but this is that you actively plan time for spiritual or relaxing activities. I know, this is a consulting channel, so the word spiritual, might sound strange to many of you. For me, this summarizes just, taking time to relax, doing some meditation maybe, or being in the nature, just something that really helps you to calm down. because believe me, this is one of the key aspects in consulting. And fortunately, I see this discussion more and more among my colleagues. We also have many seminars about that at our firm. So, meditating, relaxing, applying certain techniques to handle the stressy day of a management consultant becomes more and more important. So I really, really urge you that you think about that. So what are the activities that really help you to calm down, to relax after a stressy week? And I really have to say, yes, partying and, watching Netflix, at some point, this is also necessary, but this shouldn't be your weekly blueprint that you go out partying, because at the end, this might work in the short term, but if we talk about long term, this will not help you to really get the energy back that you need in order to have a great job and also have a great work-life balance. So how does that look in my weekly schedule? It's typically that I plan some activity on Saturday morning. So here I plan some time to do some meditation. I personally work with a meditation coach and a spiritual coach. So this is where we have our session. But I have to say that meditation and reflecting on my life is also part of my morning routine and evening routine. Okay, so it's always here in this yellow buckets as well. And so it's not only on Saturday, but on the other days as well. And also, if I'm in the nature, I could consider that as well, more a spiritual part. Good. Then with that being said, that is more or less my weekly blueprint. And this exercise really helps, to kind of set your priorities. When I did that a couple of weeks ago again, it really helps to reflect about what is important for you personally, what is important for you to keep a healthy work-life balance, and to really plan those activities in advance. And some of you might say, wow, I need the flexibility, and it's totally fine. You don't have to do it as strict as I do. You don't, and let's be honest, I also don't stick every single week to it. I'd probably stick to it, 80% of the time. And it's totally okay that you have, exceptions and that you don't stick to this plan, as long as this gives you a good orientation. Okay, so see it as orientation. Don't see it as something that forces you to do something. It just should be, supportive to you in order to get your priorities straight, in order to plan your activities in advance, to really make sure to have a maximum productivity on the one side, but also living a healthy and balanced life. So with that being said, of course, I'm interested what your tips are in terms of weekly blueprint. Do you use weekly blueprints? Do you not use it? What are your thoughts about that? And please leave it down in the comments below. And with that being said, if you like it, then please subscribe to the channel, leave a thumb up, and hope to see you soon. I hope that you have a very successful day. Talk to you soon. Goodbye, Johannes.